I was in the middle of making a rocking horse for my granddaughter, and I needed to have a fairly large circle making jig, so being the cheap guy that I am, instead of buying one, I decided to make one. So if you want to see how this was made, stay tuned, and I will do my best to kind of show you how I did it. Oh yeah. F is for factory edge. Router needs to go somewhere in here, like this. Okay, let's just draw a circle around here, like that. Ooh, something like that. And that means that we're just going to take and buzz this off to that size, all the way down for now. You know, you could really make this out of MDF or something else. I just happen to have plexiglass and quite a bit of it, so that's what I chose. And I think I'm cutting this about 7.5 inches wide on the table saw. Nothing special as far as that measurement goes. And then even though the router's round, I've got to square it up, just got to do it. And then I'm coming back with a little center punch, a homemade one at that. And I'm going to mark these holes out here. And then I'm just using the old mark and erase trick to make dots so I can see where my drill needs to go. And a quick little countersinking job right here. Wow, too late smart. I don't know why I didn't take this black piece off of here before and use it as a template, but I'm going to use it now to cut this center hole out. And also I wish that I had my double stick tape, but since I don't have it on hand, here we go. And of course this is where you find out that that black piece on the bottom of the router is really handy, because the router, well, it didn't like to move around very well on just that rough aluminum surface. And then I'll flip it over and use a flush trim bit to neaten up the edges of the hole. I happen to have an aluminum angle iron handy, so I clamped that on one side, and I'm just using that as a guide to route a shallow groove down the center of this thing. Now I know there's probably better ways to do this, but I just ended up taking a flush trim bit and riding the bearing against the edge of the initial slot and cleaned everything out that way. It worked. Not sure what the technical name of this particular bit is, but it basically cuts a 1/4 inch beyond the bearing. So I used that to cut a slot above the through slot, and the total slot width ended up to be 1 inch wide, which will allow my flat iron to slide back and forth in. Well, this is my rob Peter to pay Paul moment. I'm going to the Bridgeport, stealing this piece of 1 inch by 1/4 inch flat stock that I'm going to put a bolt in and try to tack it on. I've found that sometimes in the realm of welding, you're only as good as your grinder or your flat disc. So here, my first weld turned out like crap. I ended up grinding it off and re-welding it again without the head. And then on this side, I'm just countersinking that second hole that was already in there. Pre-made, you know. And then I'll just weld that in and use the flat disc to flush it off on the back side. Well, really, there's nothing more to it than this. I'm going to assemble this thing, put my bolts in and set the router on there, tighten those down, get that all set. And then come back over here, and I happen to have this handy little knob that works pretty good as a tightening knob. So that'll allow this piece to slide back and forth on the back side here. At this point, I haven't even used this thing one time, but I can tell you that making this out of plexiglass definitely seems like the way to go. It just seems really nice that you can see through it. And of course, we have to do a little test run, sliding this thing back and forth and making sure that it does what it's supposed to do, right? All right, thank you so much for sticking to the end of this crazy thing. When I get the enhancements done that I want to do, I will leave a link here somewhere. Please do rate and subscribe and comment and all of that good stuff, and we will see you around very soon.